I'm Sébastien Baud, chef de cuisine at the French Consulate in New York. Today I'm going to demonstrate every French egg cooking technique, from easiest to hardest. All students training to be chefs in France must master these techniques as part of their training. Though the egg is a simple ingredient, it can be transformed dozens of different ways, each with its own unique and fascinating texture. Oeufs à la coque, eggs cooked and served in their shells. I start with boiling by placing room temperature eggs into a pan of boiling water. Submerging cold eggs straight from the refrigerator into boiling water will cause their shells to crack due to thermal shock. The shell can expand unevenly and crack if it heats too fast. For this dish, I cook the egg for only 4 minutes to achieve a soft-boiled texture. Oeufs à la coque are so soft that they cannot be peeled without breaking, so they must be eaten in their shells. To serve, I cut the top off and serve with a small spoon and strips of baguette for dipping. These are called mouillettes, or soldiers in English. The result is a just set white with a yolk that is liquid, custardy, rich and glossy. Oeufs en cocotte. Eggs cooked in the oven in small pots called cocottes, topped with a reduction of cream. A very simple technique even for beginners. These ramekins have been buttered inside, seasoned with salt and pepper, and before the oven, I fill a sheet tray with water that will slowly heat the dishes and cook the eggs gently. This is called a bain-marie. Cooking them in this water bath prevents them from burning or overcooking, making this technique very foolproof. Oeufs en cocotte can be served with many different additions like mushrooms or bacon, but the simplest is a reduction of heavy cream. That is heavy cream that's been cooked down to thicken the texture and intensify the flavor. With the heavy cream, it just is making the dish very tender. Omelette paysanne, country-style flat omelette. This is not the classic French omelette, but a much simpler relative with rustic feeling, almost like a frittata. I beat the eggs and heat all butter in a small frying pan. It's okay if the butter browns in this dish. Again, this is not the classic French omelette. When the filling is cooked, we add eggs and cook until they are just set on the bottom. The dish is finished under a salamander, a very high heat broiler, until cooked through. This dish can be served mostly in France during lunch. I will say in France, people don't really have eggs for breakfast. Oeuf mimosa. In English, these are called deviled eggs. It begins with the hard-boiled eggs I made earlier, now cooked for 9 minutes, peeled, cut in half, and remove the yolk carefully. The yolk are only just cooked through, with no unsightly gray discoloration. It must be only yellow. We chop the eggs very finely and evenly. A chopped filling that includes egg whites is more light and complex than just using yolks and mayonnaise. So I include the white as well. This dish should only be made with fresh handmade mayonnaise. This is for food hygiene. The mayonnaise must be consumed during the same day it was conceived. The finished dish looks like the small yellow flowers of the mimosa. Eggs Florentine, les oeufs Florentines. In French cuisine, dishes called Florentine are served with spinach and are finished with a cheesy mornay sauce. I begin by sautéing garlic and soft baby spinach. I add a few spoons of mornay sauce, just a little bit, not too much. This is made by adding Gruyère and Parmesan cheese to a béchamel. It is rich, creamy, and savory. Season with pepper and salt, and then it's done. We make a bed for oeuf mollet from the spinach with mornay. I boil 2 eggs, cooked to medium, that's 6 minutes of cook time, leaving the inside still quite soft. I add more mornay sauce on top and finish the dish under the salamander until it is hot and bubbling. It's very creamy, rich, and you want to have a second one right after. Oeuf au plat. This preparation is not common in homes. It is taught in culinary school to demonstrate the distinctions in cooking the whites and the yolks. We begin by separating the eggs. We will cook the whites first. We place them in a flat butter dish that gives this dish its name. They are cooked in a water bath like the oeufs en cocotte. And when they are just set, we add the egg yolks on top. Add drops of balsamic vinegar and finish in the oven. The whites are evenly set all the way through, with no raw parts. This short bake time sets the egg whites all the way through and leave the yolk just barely cooked but solidified. Oeuf parfait, perfect soft boiled eggs. The goal with this technique is to have the egg yolk and the egg white with the same consistency. Sous vide cooking is common now, but it was a technology invented and perfected by French chefs in the 1970s. This immersion circulator heats and circulates the water, maintaining a temperature of exactly 147 degrees Fahrenheit. I submerge the eggs in the water bath for 40 minutes. You cook it slowly and evenly through the whole egg, so when you crack it, everything is the same consistency and temperature. I crack the egg into a dish, and the result is like a more delicate poached egg, soft and very shiny, a modern classic. Oeufs brouillés aux truffes, scrambled eggs with black truffles. These have been stored with the black truffle. Just being next to the truffles permeates the eggs with their fragrance. Eggs can take flavors from other food that have a strong sense. I crack eggs into a bowl and season. French scrambled eggs are never cooked over direct heat. Instead, they are cooked in a bowl over a pot of simmering water. This causes the protein to set slowly. With constant stirring, the result is small curds with a creamy texture. It is a slower process than cooking over direct heats and required constant attention. When they are almost cooked, we add chopped truffles and finish with shaved truffle on top. Adding truffle to the eggs gives a nice flavor and goes very well together. Omelette. This is the classic French omelette. A simple dish, but it requires careful timing and skill to achieve the perfect result. After seasoning with salt and pepper, I beat the egg just until mixed. Beating the eggs too much causes the protein to tighten and squeeze out moisture while cooking, resulting in rubbery eggs. The pan must be on low heat to ensure slow cooking. If there is any browning, the dish will be ruined. That is why I use clarified butter. The milk solids have been removed, leaving only the fat, which will not brown. The egg is cooked so it is only barely set, and then I roll it carefully using the spatula to guide it, and then tilt the pan to fold it over onto itself. The final shape should look like an American football. The interior is just cooked and the outside is pale and smooth. I finish it by brushing it with butter to make it shine. Île flottante, floating island, or snow eggs. It is an old-fashioned dessert that transforms the eggs into a cloud-like texture. We begin by making a meringue. It is very important to start with room temperature egg white for a fluffy, stable meringue. I add sugar at several parts and continue to whisk until a meringue is formed. At a higher temperature, protein denature more easily and bond together to trap more air. Extremely fresh eggs have a tight protein structure and may be difficult to whip. Traditionally, eggs are left out for at least 2 days before they are used for meringue. After mixing, the meringue should hold its shape, but it should not be too stiff. This is the beginning, but now we cook the meringue. First, I use 2 spoons to form the meringue into canals. You will see this shape in many other classic French dishes. We poach the eggs gently in water for a few minutes, turning them over frequently so that each side is cooked evenly. The gentle heat develops a soft, pillowy texture while also locking in the dish's cloud-like shape. The texture becomes like a marshmallow or a cotton candy. I made crème anglaise in advance with milk, egg yolk, sugar, and vanilla. If the dish is called floating island, this makes up the ocean. The dish is fluffy, gentle, clean, and comforting. Soufflé au fromage, a classic savory dish that will puff off dramatically in the oven, if you make it correctly. A successful soufflé requires carefully handling of ingredients and perfect timing. It must be cooked precisely and served immediately for full effect. I begin by whisking egg whites. Whisking at low speed creates small uniform bubbles, giving more stability that will prevent the soufflé from quickly collapsing. Once again, I use Mornay sauce as the base. You must fold the base very gently with the egg white to avoid popping the bubbles and losing aeration. The mixture does not have to be completely smooth. We pour the mixture into the buttered soufflé dish. The straight sides will help the soufflé rise up. In the heat of the oven, the egg whites solidify. The moisture converts to steam and air bubbles expand, causing the soufflé to rise. Once you take it out, it must be served immediately, before the air bubbles deflate and the soufflé falls. Oeufs en meurette, eggs poached in red wine. This is a dish from Burgundy. It is so revered that each year that region hosts a championship in which chefs compete to create the best version of the dish. This is the version taught in culinary schools, and it requires skill to execute every element correctly. It begins by poaching eggs directly in the red wine sauce made with onions and lardons of bacon. This is called sauce meurette, and it is similar to sauce bourguignon. Poaching eggs is already a delicate technique, but it's made more difficult since you can't see into the sauce. The color change is striking, but the eggs also absorb the wine's fruity, complex flavors. They are ready when the white is solid and the yolk is still creamy. The poached eggs are served on top of toasted, buttered bread and covered with their sauce. But that's a delicious sauce with the bacon, the onions, the garlic, an explosion of flavors. Oeufs en gelée. Our last dish, and the most challenging, is a traditional dish of poached eggs in aspic. All its elements together take several days to prepare and assemble, and the dish is a test of many different skills. First, I prepare the decoration. These are blanched leeks and peppers. All French culinary school students are taught to cut these decorative designs. That's how you practice, by doing this easy shape. So it's always the same, that's the classic one. But then after, when you grow up, I will say, in this business and you have more skills, you can do. I see people do crazy things, you know. The stock has been made in advance. This alone takes many hours. It must be cooked, cooled, and clarified to capture any impurities so the final result is clear. And he must have enough gelatin to set firmly around the egg. I poured just a few milliliters of liquid to set the design in place. When he has set, I add a strip of ham around the sides of the dish. It must stay perfectly upright. I add the poached egg and pour some more jelly to set it in place. After several hours, the jelly will be set. To serve, I create another decoration for the plate. I chop up some of the solidified stock. The final step is to unmold the eggs in hot water, aiming to keep the shape perfectly intact. Always an anxious moment. And voila! Oeufs en gelée, our most complex dish today. One simple ingredient, many different preparations. These techniques represent one of the foundations of French cuisine. Mastering them will allow a chef to create hundreds or even 1,000 more dishes. Bon appétit!